next singer and actress who's played the Broadway stage in most of the world's great concert halls. She's performed for royalty and for an American president. She just finished a 2-year international tour in Guys and Dolls. Welcome to Lorna Luft.
Thank you.
2 years in Guys and Dolls.
19 months, yeah.
What was it, Adelaide?
I was Miss Adelaide.
Miss Adelaide. How'd you get that voice? Did you do that? What's that song she did?
A person.
A person, yeah, that's
can
great.
develop a cold.
Yeah.
I think you just have to really know who that lady is. And
Is
it's
that right?
sort of, yeah. If you play the voice, everybody's going to know, you know.
Right.
And I think a lot of people who have, you know, this role will be done way after you and I will be gone,
Yes.
you know. And I think that people who play her as a dumb Brooklyn secretary, she's not. She's you know, she's book-wise, and she really tries to improve herself. And she's Miss Adelaide.
Yes, that's right.
She's a lady.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful experience.
Lorna, there's a, I actually met your mom in the mid-'60s, I think, when I was executive producer of the Mike Douglas show. She was on at one time, and of course, wonderful performer. There's the new CDs are out. Do we have that? Do we have that in Still Store? I want to show this. If we have that Decca CD kit. If we don't, we'll bring it up in the next segment. What is that? Why did they reissue this? Here it is. Well, no, that isn't it.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's
well,
that's
that's one of the CDs. Yeah. I was looking for the big box. I saw the big box.
Yeah, it's lovely.
How many are in that box?
4 CDs.
And from what years of Judy Garland's singing?
From the time she was 12 years old.
Oh my God.
Up until she was, well, up until she was almost gone from MGM. So it's her whole MGM library almost. And it's 79 songs, and it's complete recordings of all the vocal choir things that were in the movies also. How
did they make them technically sound? Because in those days, the recordings, I remember the 40s, there were old 78s in the 40s and 50s. How did they get the sound so good?
I guess they just really took them, remastered them, and cleaned them up as they do today. I think it's a wonderful, this is part of our American culture. This is part of our history. And this is something that I think everybody should have in their library, because it's a great gift to have this incredible legacy of songs and of music, and by one of the greatest entertainers in the world. I'm very pleased, I'm very proud that, you know, the Decca's come out with this wonderful box set, because it's great for my family.
Judy Garland was you know, one of the handful, I mean, 4 or 5, Elvis, you know, Judy Garland. I mean, you get down to just a few. Al Jolson, maybe, in the early days, who were known as the greatest entertainers that ever lived. How did she get into that category? I mean, I know she was a terrific singer. I know she grew up in the studio system. She could act. She understood humor. But how do you get from being good or great to legend status?
Well, when you think about it, there are only 2 people that came out of the MGM movie system, as you want to call it, that went from being child stars all the way through their entire career and to become legends. And that was my mother and Elizabeth Taylor.
That's true.
And so I think the reason that my mother was because she did every single kind of media. She did film, and when she finished doing film, she went into live work. And when she was doing live work, she went into television. So she covered the masses, and she was so accessible. I mean, people would always come up and say, I felt I could go over and talk to her, and you could. And that was the one thing that made her so likable, because I used to sit with her in restaurants and people used to come over. She never once denied an autograph.
Is that right?
No, never.
I've been with some big stars who deny autographs.
I don't believe in that.
And
But that's the way I was raised.
Right.
I mean, you know, they'd say, I'm sorry to, you know, even if they said, sign this, and she'd say...
Rude.
Yeah, even if they were rude, she'd say, I will, can you just give me a moment, please?
Ah.
And she would.
Now, Judy Garland was a legend, but you knew her as a mom.
Yeah.
Now, what are your strongest memories of her as a mom?
Funny.
Really?
Truly funny. Oh, yes. Oh, my mother was one of the funniest people you will ever meet in your whole life. If people who never met her are the ones that would say, oh, poor thing. You know, the people who really knew her said she was the funniest woman I ever knew. She had an incredible sense of humor and a really great wit. And that is something that she instilled in my sister and myself. And I think it's also a wonderful survival instinct.
Did you and Liza live together all your lives?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, Liza was 7 years old when I was born, so before that, no.
Yes, well, no, you weren't there. But, I mean, Liza Minnelli is her sister and...
My sister.
Your sister, and not Judy's sister, her daughter. But you two grew up in the same home. Did she, like, get up on Saturday morning and fix breakfast for you or anything?
Yeah.
Or were you raised by nannies and...
We had nannies, but only because my mother was a working parent. I mean, she wasn't, oh, look, sweet, right?
Huh?
Sweet.
Hey, there's
I know,
Liza, and there's Lorna.
Sweet. Oh, so cute.
Isn't that great?
That's when my mother used to dress us alike. We really hated that, I have to tell you that.
Did you really?
She went through a point where she thought, would it be really cute? Now, there were 7 years different. And so I could hear Liza saying, I don't want to wear what she's wearing. And then I'd say, I don't want to wear what she's wearing. So it got to be, you know, but there's a perfect example. All right, she tried to dress us. She tried to be a real mom. And if she were with us today, there wouldn't be anything unusual about her being a working parent.
That's true. She was, at that time, she was somewhat condemned for being a working parent.
Exactly. She was. She was supposed to stay home, and the men were supposed to go out.
Right.
And now, everybody's working.
Right.
So there was nothing unusual.
We have to take a break in a minute, but I know that she was very good friends with Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby. Did you meet those gentlemen when you were kids?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was her relationship with Frank? They seemed to be good friends. I remember he punched somebody who said something bad about her once, didn't he?
Well, I wouldn't know that, and I'm certainly not going to say that
No, but I heard he decked somebody who said something.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope that's a good story. I respect him more than anyone. I think that this is a man that is still on a stage and still working, and I think he's one of the great entertainers of our day.
Really is.
And he adored her, and she loved him because they came out of that MGM fiber of working hard and doing their best and really enjoying what they did for a living.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break. If you have a question, give us a call. We'll be right back after these messages.
You made me love you. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. You made somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. There's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby.
You hear Judy Garland sing, it just breaks your heart. We're back with her daughter, a great entertainer in her own right, Lorna Luft. What did you think of when you saw that picture with your mom and dad?
You know what I thought? I thought about my daughter. I thought about my daughter because my daughter is 3, and it's what's uncanny is how much my daughter looks exactly like my mom.
Can she sing?
Yes. I know.
The legend continues.
Oh, it's really right on key, too.
What are you going to do when she comes home at age 9 and says, you know, I want to be in show business?
Lock her in a room. No. Say you're never getting out of the house.
Oh, that's great. I wrote a book in 1987 called You Are the Message, in which I talked about, because I, in another life, taught communications. And in the final page of that book, I wrote about Judy Garland. And I said she understood audiences and she knew how to get the audience with her. When she walked on a stage, no matter what else was going on, she had a command focus. She could get the audience pulling for her. And even at times when she was not feeling well or what have you and was working out there, and you could tell she was working to hit some notes, the audience was out there saying, go for it, Judy, go for it. They loved her. It was just an incredible ability.
But that's what I was saying. She loved what she did. And she loved those audiences. And when you get out on a stage today, and there's some wonderful entertainers, you can tell who's having fun and who isn't.
That is true.
And you can see, I don't care who they are, you can see incredible entertainers. And if they don't want to be there, you can tell. And then there are people who live to get on that stage. And that audience would give, I mean, I think today, if Bette Midler said, all of you go jump in the river, they would, en masse, go. But, you know, she has that command over an audience because
She's a great entertainer.
She loves what she does. My sister loves what she does. I love what I do. And I think that's instilled in, I mean, you have to really want to be in this business more than the air that you breathe nowadays.
You have to do it.
Yes, you have to. You have to do it. And that's the one thing that I'm so grateful for being born into a show business family, is that I got the discipline. I got that, you know, if your fingernail breaks, then you don't cancel the show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like I used to say about sports guys. I mean, in the old days, DiMaggio played hurt. They all played hurt. Great entertainers play hurt.
Absolutely.
Many times they go out there and with a broken heart, and they still deliver the goods.
Absolutely.
And you can always tell the amateurs and the pros when it comes to that.
Oh, yeah.
You were at the White House entertaining President Bush.
Yes.
At about the same time. He's a good friend of mine, and I have been there on some occasions, and I think I was there around that time. When was that exactly?
Oh, I guess it was, what, four years ago?
It was right after the Gulf War, or right before? Somewhere.
Yes, it was right as the Gulf War had started. And I'll never forget, first of all, being
at the White House.
Just being at the White House. I don't care who you are.
Right.
You get that invitation and you say, this is something special.
Right.
This is really terrific.
I'm going.
Oh, absolutely. I'm framing this invitation.
Right.
And once you get there, and I don't care how cool you think you are, when you are in that line and it's coming up, I'm sorry, but my knees were going like this. I mean, you do, because this is the President of the United States, and every single fiber in me, I became an American. You know? I mean,
you were ready to go into the Gulf War yourself,
absolutely.
right?
I mean, you really did. And he was so charming. I was very impressed about how tall he was.
Yeah, he looks like Gary Cooper. You had mentioned to me. He does, doesn't he?
And I had rehearsed everything that I was going to say. And I got up to, and he said hello, and I went, but I got it out, and we took the picture, and then Mrs. Bush was so warm, and she has that wonderful quality of making you feel immediately that there's nothing, that you're a long-lost friend.
Yeah, Barbara doesn't have an enemy. I mean, she's a very nice
wonderful.
person.
And I asked her, I said, well, how are your dogs? She want to see them? And I said, well, yeah. The next thing we knew, we're sitting down, both of us, on the floor of the White House, and Millie and the dogs are, and it was terrific.
Yeah.
And performing for them, I mean, that's an honor.
Was that the highlight of your career, do you think?
One of them. I
Really?
think so. I think it doesn't matter what your political views are. When you are invited to sing for the president, I think that is something that you will remember for the rest of your life, and it doesn't really matter. It just means that you're accepted, and I mean, I'd say you made it that time, kid. You know, when you've been asked to go to the White House.
Going back to your mom for a second, what at the end of her life, were you there, and what were you two talking about at that time in her life?
Well, it wasn't the end. I mean, you know.
She didn't know.
No. Nothing.
Everything was normal, and then
I was 15. I was 16 years old, and everything was fine. You see, at that time, nobody knew what they know today about the disease of chemical dependency, and they didn't know what they know. And I think that sometimes I think to myself, if we had a Betty Ford Center and all of that, I mean, think of all the people.
Yeah, she could have, that's right.
A lot of people.
Elvis.
A lot of people would still be here, but they didn't know. And it's nobody's fault. And you can't sit there and say, oh, the studios and you can't. It wasn't, I mean, the studio didn't go out to do this to people. They didn't know. They knew that they had some kind of pills that they knew
got them up, and some got them.
No, that kept their appetite in check, and that writers were taking to stay awake, and that's all they knew. They didn't, I mean, do you think, honestly, that they would try to hurt their biggest money makers? I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know?
We have, we don't have to, well, Richard in California, we have 30 seconds. Richard, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Lorna, when she was a young child, Yeah.
Yeah, turn the sound down on your TV set, Richard. We're down to 10 seconds. Go quick.
Yeah, I want to know, Lorna, did you like being with your mom when you were like 8 years old, 9 years old? What was it like in the wings when you were a kid?
Watching her from the wings. You only got 5 seconds, was it?
It was wonderful. It was great, but I wasn't there a lot. I mean, when I was 8 and 9 years old, I was home, asleep in bed.
Going to school and...
Going to school and all of that. But when I was there... Are we out of time?
Is this the end of tonight? We're not... Huh? Oh, we have another segment. Great. Okay, call us. We'll be right back. I was worried we were out of town. I thought...
Got rhythm, I got music, I got my man who could ask for anything more. I got daisies in green pastures, I got my man who could ask for anything more.
Okay, we're talking with Lorna Luft and her mom, Judy Garland. Great entertainer that she is. The Decca has come out with this new box of Decca Masters. Now look at this. Wait, you got to get this here. Give me a wide shot here. Robert from... Wait, we got a call from Robert from New York. Got some wonderful photographs of Judy in here. And the CDs, of course. So you can get it up anywhere in New York at the music stores, right? Okay. Robert from New York, you're on the line, Robert.
Hi.
Hi.
I've always been a fan of your mothers and of your sisters, and about 20 years ago I saw you on The Tonight Show singing a Michelle Legrand song, and I became a fan of yours. You and your family in their singing always gets to the meat of the song and the feeling of the song. Do you and Liza have any plans of touring together? Because it would be a dynamic concert if you do.
You know, the problem is that, you know, I just got to New York while Liza was going to L.A., so that sort of says it all. I mean, our
both
paths
have different
are all,
schedules.
We go like this, and we have to really do sit down. I mean, when we did the Tony Awards together last year, we had more fun.
Oh, I bet.
And
yeah.
it was great, and we'd love to do something together. It's just finding the time. Oh,
well,
my
you're a mom
goodness,
too now.
Where do they find these photographs?
Oh, there you are. Yeah,
Ooh,
those are
child.
great. Okay, Joe from New York. Joe, you're on the line.
Yeah, Lorna, I wanted to question, what kind of memories do you have when you were at the Palace with your mother and your brother Joey in 1967?
I have great memories of being at the Palace. I remember being very nervous and being scared because that was the first time that, I mean, you're playing the Palace Theater. Right. And we had rehearsed, and it was, you know, a very put-together show and all that. And I remember opening night, and I had butterflies and all that. And I do remember watching my mom standing in the wings when I went on stage and looking over, and she was there, and all of a sudden she wasn't there anymore. And I felt like she was saying, it's all right, you're on your own. So I have great memories of the Palace Theater.
Lorna, I come from a different generation. Now, when you walked out here, you have great legs.
Thank you.
Now, will this embarrass you? Get a wide shot here. Check this out. Come on, swing those over. I want to, look at this. These are great legs.
Thank you.
This is really true. And it must be a family trait. I mean, I think...
Well, you know, I thank you.
Check that out.
The
Now, the reason I do that, now I'm
you.
going to get a lot of letters from people saying, you're a sexist pig. Why would you do that? And I said, no, you don't think I'm a sexist pig for recognizing that, do you?
Absolutely not.
Okay, see that?
No,
She's
why?
my defense here, but I think they're great legs. Dwayne from California. Dwayne, you're on the line.
Hi, Lorna.
Hi.
I'm just wondering what your future projects are.
I'm about to go in the recording studio with Brooks Arthur, who's just a wonderful producer, and we're going to make this album. We're choosing material now. And then I will be back here in New York at Rainbow and Stars for the whole month of November.
Oh, for November?
Yes.
Oh, great. I'll try to come down and see you. Rainbow and Stars at Radio City Music Hall.
Right.
Okay. Huh?
At the top of
Rockefeller Center.
Oh, my goodness, we'll get calls about that.
Radio City, I'm sorry.
Right.
It's all part of the same complex in New York, but it's the top of Rockefeller Center. And it's called Rainbow and Stars.
Right.
Rainbows and Stars.
Right. And I'll be Rainbow and Stars, and I'll be there the whole month of November.
So if you want to get in, you got to get in, and you got to call them up and get a reservation. By the way, it's a pretty good dinner up there. And,
it is.
I've gone up and spent the evening.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, it's terrific.
So much fun. I've been there 5 years in a row. I didn't play there last year because of doing
it's a great spot, Rainbow and Stars.
Yeah, it's like coming home.
Yeah. Okay, Lorna, thanks for coming. I enjoyed having you on the show.
Thank you.
All right.